Hello and welcome to my Britain's Got Talent Series 19 semi-final number 5 recap and review. My name is Marcin Ahomi, content creator and the host of Marcin Ahomi's recap and review podcast, where I talk about TV, music, celebrities and so much more. If this is your first time tuning into my podcast and you're listening on Spotify, please download the episode and follow the podcast so you don't miss anything when a new episode drops. And remember, you can always follow me on my social media platforms, which is my Instagram at Masked Singer Homie and my YouTube channel, which is Masked Singer Homie. All of it is available in the thumbnail of the podcast if you're listening on Spotify. So, it is the fifth and final live semi-final for BGT this year. I cannot believe we officially ended off the live shows this year. It's honestly gone by so quickly, and just to let you guys know that it is extremely warm here in the UK today. It's about 30 degrees right now, so it is boiling here. So I've got my water here, keeping me hydrated. Hope everyone's having a lovely day out and about in the sun. Really hope you're staying safe. I just hope you have a great day. Just stay safe. That's why I asked, just for you to stay safe in the sun. Wear sun cream, etc. Wear a hat. Just do what you got to do to make sure you're safe in the sun. That's what I have to say. But anyways, it was the fifth and final live semi-final for BGT, where we saw the last 8 acts competing for the last 2 spots in the final, which is this Saturday, which is just so exciting. And it was an absolutely brilliant show, as we had the group Golden Buzzer on this episode, which honestly made it up. Well, how do I say it? It definitely made up for it, because one act in particular, which received it, in my opinion, should have received a group Golden Buzzer in the audition. So I was so pleased about that. And honestly, the final this year is honestly shaping up to be, I think, one of the best ones we could potentially have, because the amount of variety we have is just incredible. But also, of course, there's the wild card, which I'll be doing a separate episode on that very soon, so please stay tuned for that. And it's also out to mention that I think we may have witnessed one of the worst performances in BGT history. And if you know who I'm talking about Mr. Cherry. But we'll get onto that a little bit later on, okay? But without any further ado, let's talk about the fifth and final live semi-final for BGT Series 19. So starting off the show, we had Juan Carlos, the 12-year-old dancer who was from Spain. And honestly, I think in my predictions, I think I had him in a deliberations elimination, but honestly, I was not disappointed at all that he made it through to the live shows, because, again, I love this audition where he did Shakira, he did Daddy Yankee, etc. And I think it was a great audition, and I'm so pleased that he made it through to the live shows here. So for his semi-final performance, he did a dance routine where it basically started off with him kind of like coming through the side doors, and there's like cameramen like kind of representing paparazzi in a way. So they did that. So he did that, and he went through the audience, and he did a dance routine with more backup dancers, and as well as the to the judges' desk, to Bad Bunny, Pitbull, and Let's Get Loud by Jennifer Lopez. A great song, by the way. And this was a brilliant performance. Again, I think for 12 years old to have the confidence like that is just remarkable. Amanda mentioned that he has the most infectious energy. And KSI mentioned that he didn't know how someone as young as him was able to have so much confidence and aura, which, again, and he definitely displayed that in the audition as well, because, for 12 years old, to have the confidence like that is just mind-blowing. And he really worked the crowd as well, because, again, for 12 years old, to have to do a dance routine like that is just so cool. It's just brilliant. And I think he's just got all the energy there. He has the personality. He just has everything in the bag, which is just brilliant. I honestly think he's got a huge future ahead of him, and I loved this performance as well. I think it was a huge step up from his first audition. I love the way he utilized the audience. He used the judges panel to do a bit of the routine in the desk, and again, I think the backup dancers were also fantastic as well, accompanying him as well. I don't know if that's the right word or pronunciation. But overall, this was a brilliant start to the show. Even though I had a feeling he wasn't going to go through this episode, I still think he did an amazing job overall. And I honestly, I just deep down inside, I know he's going to have a huge career ahead of him. So next up, we had Jake Banfield, who is a magician, who in his audition, he did a routine about his family, his daughter, and etc. So, and honestly, I think definitely one of the most underrated magicians this series, in my opinion. So the fact that and the fact he made it to the runner-up spot of the night just shows how well the magic has done over the years. As you guys probably know by now, this year is the year of magic. We already have two magicians in the final. So had Jake made it, we would have had three magicians, which honestly would have been quite cool. But let's talk about his performance here, because honestly, I loved this performance. So for his performance, he had KSI open a stopwatch on his phone, or the stopwatch app on his phone, and to press start before accurately guessing when he'd press stop, and based on the time he'd set on the stopwatch on his phone earlier, then he had Amanda choose a random picture of himself and Alicia before seemingly to remove it from his phone, and the photo he chose was the one from the auditions back in 2019. And then he had KSI and Amanda choose two picture stacks to discard before having Simon to choose one of the two remaining stacks, before having the studio audience shine down their phone flashlights towards Simon. And then he mentioned, and as he kind of memorized the photo at top of on the deck, and then and then after that he kind of seemed to catch this some sort of light behind Simon's glasses, which honestly I think I actually thought that was pretty cool. And then he tossed it towards the stage, and then he had his daughter come out. And by the way, his daughter is just so adorable, absolutely beautiful. And then together they chose an identical photo to the one that Simon had memorized, which I can't exactly remember which one it was, to be honest. And by the way, they did the music in the background was a rendition of Chasing Cars, of course, the Snow Patrol song. But that version I was playing, I loved that version. I want to know who sings that version, because it's such a great version of that song. And I don't know who sings it, but if anyone knows, let me know. But honestly, I loved this performance so much. I think this was a great performance, and I think he really stepped it up from the audition as well. KSI mentioned that he blew his mind several times, and Simon mentioned that he is relatable, and I think he was going to do better than he thought, than Jake thought, in a way. And again, the fact he made it to second place on the night just shows how well the magic has done over the years. Especially this year, as you know, we've had so many good magicians on this year, and the fact he made it to the top two of the night, it just shows that the public loves seeing magic. And honestly, I thought his performance this episode was just fantastic. I loved it, and I think the fact he kind of has his daughter with him to make it for this kind of like wholesome moment, I think it's really nice, and that's what makes this act even more nice as well. I think it's such a lovely act as well, and to have his daughter there with him, it's just so beautiful, and he comes across as a really nice guy as well. So honestly, I just know that he's got so much success for going into the future. I would honestly, he could be actually possible for the wild card, actually, when I think about it. But would they want to have three magicians in the final? I'm not too sure, but again, I could maybe it's very possible. But overall, this was a great performance, and he definitely stepped up from the first audition, and I'm glad he did, because this was a great semi-final performance. And now we go on to probably the worst performance I think BGT has ever had in the history of the show, which was Mr. Cherry, who was Simon KSI's golden buzzer. Yeah, you heard me right. The guy who literally squashed cans on his backside, on his behind, and he did it with beer cans. He did it with bottles of beer. Yeah, that guy, and he also fell over, giving him a hug. So that just says it all. But we got to talk about this performance, because I don't know where to begin with it. So basically, the start of the performance, he was carried towards the stage, being on a throne, and he was tossing some cherries into the audience, because of course. And then now it's to Macho Man in the background, and then he sat on golden Simon's buzzer, and then he had like KSI underwear before crushing watermelons on his behind on chairs. And then he started blowing a balloon on his backside to the Long Ranger, which is a film. I think it had one of those songs from the Lone Ranger. I don't know what that song is called, but I know it's played in every single advert everywhere. But then he opened champagne bottles again, like he did with his first audition, with his bind. And then he put some champagne over his head while KSI had his underwear thingy on. And then Amanda and Alicia pressed their buzzers, and she mentioned it was pants. Simon mentioned it was like he drank a million cups of coffee and then decided to do something to come and do Still Knows Watermelons, and that was sort of it. And even KSI, he seemed to really regret his decision of pressing it. So honestly, thank you for recognizing that, KSI. Absolutely beautiful stuff. And I just, I don't even know what to say at this rate, because how did this make the live shows? Like, what was he like? What was KSI thinking in his mind? Like, oh yeah, I'm gonna press the golden buzzer for Mr. Cherry. Like, I don't get it. I really do not understand it. And honestly, I think, and I personally feel like this is kind of a wasted spot, because I think, because one of the acts, we lost quite a few good acts in the auditions that didn't make it through to the live shows, with one of them being Finley Barrett Carter, which I was shocked about because his audition was so good. And again, I think it's absolutely shocking that he didn't get through to the lives, because he had such good voice. And the fact an act like this, in my opinion, went through over Finley, I just think is absolutely just shocking. I do not understand it whatsoever. And why would someone find someone sitting on like watermelons and bottles, etc., entertaining? Like, only in KSI land, that's what I have to say. But yeah, that's what I have to say is just wow. I don't have anything else to say other than just let's just move on before we get carried away. So next up, we had 12-year-old James Miller, who is from East Sussex, and in his audition, he did "Defying Gravity" from Wicked, and he absolutely nailed it. I loved his performance. It was just an amazing audition. He was just incredible. And for the semi-finals, he did a rendition of "The Explorer and the Bear" from the most recent Paddington the Musical, which was in the Savoy Theatre a few months ago, I think. I can't remember how long, but it's a quite recent musical now. Of course, the song is written by Tom Fletcher from McFly. A brilliant song, by the way. I would love to see Paddington on BGT. I think we've yet to have. I think next year we're going to have Paddington as a guest performance on BGT, so that'd be really cool. Alicia mentioned that she thought it was a really clever song choice, and he's a star. And Amanda mentioned that his voice is just through the roof, brilliant. And he got third place in the public vote, which I was honestly, I think I was a bit surprised he got third place, because I thought he would get at least the second place spot. But honestly, I think he absolutely nailed this performance. It was just, again, for 12 years old, to have a singing voice like that, it's just unbelievable. And I honestly think he's going to be on the West End in no time. He's going to be like, his name deserves to be in Lights, the West End, Michael Ball, he's just got everything about him which belongs on a West End stage. And I just know in a few years' time, he's going to be there. And I think that he's so capable of doing that. And I think I just know that he's going to have a huge career ahead of him. And there's no doubt, because he's just absolutely brilliant. And again, I just think for his age to have a voice like that is just incredible. And overall, this was an amazing performance from James. Now we go on to the act that I honestly think should have made it through, in my opinion, and that was the rock band SOS. And in their audition, they did a rendition of "Everybody" by the Backstreet Boys. And Simon mentioned that they should try the traditional way and do their own music. And that's exactly what they did. And let me tell you, it paid off big time. So their performance on the semi-finals, they did an original song called "Monsters." And let me tell you, these guys literally blew the house down. Like, for me, this was the best performance of the night. And I absolutely loved it. I loved the song. I loved everything. Like, the lead singer's voice is amazing. The whole band is so talented. And it was just fantastic. And KSI mentioned that they have passed with flying colours, and it's one of the most lit things he had ever seen. And Amanda mentioned it felt authentic, and she loved it. And there'll be loads of people singing the chorus, and which it has a very notable chorus, by the way. And oh my God, let me tell you, these guys were just epic. Like, they literally brought the roof down with this performance. And I think what I loved most about this, because the fact they did their own original song, it paid off so well, because it made them like really like stand out more. And that's what I love about BGT, because you get to see a side like these guys, and they did that. And honestly, it was just, I was honestly shocked that they didn't get through to the final after that, because I gave all my 5 votes to them because they were just amazing. And I know that the act that did go through was deserving. But for me, if I was to choose the public vote finalist, it would have been for SOS 100%, because they were just incredible. And I will say this now: can we please can we have these guys represent the UK in next year's Eurovision? Like, can we please do that? Because I mean, the UK entry we had this year was just interesting to say the least. But these guys, can you imagine them performing at Eurovision? It would just be out of this world. It would be. And it was, oh my god, I've literally been watching their performance since then. It's such a good song, and again, they absolutely nailed it. They'll be releasing Monster in a month's time on the 30th of June, which is quite a long wait, but it's definitely going to be worth it, to say the least. So it will definitely be worth checking out once it gets released. But oh my god, these guys were absolutely fantastic. For me, the best performance of the night, the act I think should have made it through. But honestly, I can't describe how amazing they were. They were just absolutely fantastic. Now we go on to the group Golden Buzzer, which was for Celestial, the drone display team from Somerset. And honestly, going into this episode, I just had a feeling there would be a group Golden Buzzer, because I remember, I don't know if you remember on my on their audition, I mentioned that they should have received a group Golden Buzzer of some sort, because they was the sort of act I think should have gotten it, but they did it this time, and it was just so well deserved. So of course the performance was pre-recorded, obviously, because of course it'd be quite hard to do it live, especially with it being sunlight now in the later hours. So the drone show started off with a child reading a book, as Rocket Man by Elton John was played in the background, which was Sarah James's cover, which I love that rendition, by the way. And they had like a thing of Neil Armstrong's moon landing with a space rocket going around, which was awesome. They had, then they had many varieties of like nature, like elephants, dolphins, and even had a diver at one point to the Blue Planet theme. And then they had a pirate ship to represent Pirates of the Caribbean, which, by the way, that looked so cool. And then they had a race car and athletes to Rio Speedwagon's Can't Fight This Feeling. And then they finished off with a breathing like a fire-breathing dragon, before finishing off the performance with the words "Dream Big" written in drones. And this performance right here, it was just game over at this point. Like, after this performance, I just knew they were going to get it. So KSI mentioned that it was big in size, it was big in identity, and it was big in everything. And Simon mentioned that he thought from the second it started, it was one of the most beautiful, incredible productions they've ever had on the show for years. And that was when it was very obvious that after that, and then that's when they gave them the group Golden Buzzer, which was so well deserved. I mean, I don't think there was any other act tonight that deserved the group Golden Buzzer more than them, because what they are capable of doing with drones as well is just remarkable. And again, I know people might say, oh, I feel like I have a feeling, I know that some people may say that's more technology, which I get that, but for me, from my point of view, the talent are the people who put this stuff together. Like, it's the people themselves are the talent as well, because for a team to put something like this together, it's just incredible. And I think that's why I love the audition so much, because it's something we've never had a drone display team on BGT before. And honestly, I truly do think, I know this year's been so competitive wise, but I would love this act of the Royal Variety. Like, they could easily win the whole thing after that, and I just think it'd be amazing for an act of this caliber to headline the Royal Variety. It would just be incredible, and I truly do think the public will get behind them. And again, I just think to have an act like this end up winning the show would just be brilliant. It'd be absolutely fantastic. Such a well-deserved Golden Buzzer. And again, I truly think they could easily, after that, win the whole thing. And I would not be disappointed at all, because I think what they're capable of doing with drones is just remarkable. Next up, we had Danger Act, Baron, and Vesper. And as you guys know by now, I love Danger Act so much. And again, I loved it before this performance as well. Even though it was based essentially the same as the audition, I still loved it either way. So they did a routine where Baron had where they had removed two capes while surrounding other people in hoods. Then Baron had swung a padlock by both his nose and bald and his bald piercings, and then he attached both his nipple piercings and his earrings to a large rope, and then Vesper attached a boot to before walking backwards to the judges panel and back onto the stage. Basically, very similar to like they did for the audition, essentially. And Simon gave us a standing ovation because it's Simon. Amanda mentioned that they're fearless and they're courageous to do something like that. But KSI mentioned that he was longing for more and he was expecting more, and then it was done. Which I will admit, I do think it was a little bit short, in my opinion. It did felt a bit too short, but I think again, I don't know. It did feel a bit short, but putting that aside, I honestly thought they were fantastic. Again, even though they were very similar to the audition, to do an act like this and have the amount of trust in each other is just insane. I mean, like the padlocks in the eyes and the noses. Oh god! I mean, but that's why I love Danger Acts this so much. It's the reason why I love these sorts of acts, because they make you go on the edge of your seat all the time, and like it's exciting. So yeah, they really impressed me. I loved the performance here, and I knew they weren't going to go through to the final, but still, I thought they were absolutely brilliant nonetheless. And yeah, I love me some Danger. That's what I have to say. I love me some Danger. And finally, we have the last act of the night, who made it through to the final via the public vote, which was Amanda's Golden Buzzer, the Hawkstone Farmers Choir, and easily my favourite choir I think I've ever heard in a long time on the show. And if you remember the Hawkstone Farmers Choir, this is a choir that was formed by Jeremy Clarkson, which I try not to get too into Jeremy Clarkson because I'm not the biggest fan of Jeremy Clarkson personally, because it's in my opinion, but he formed the choir, of course, because of course he's also a farmer himself. But for their audition, they did One Day Like This by Elbow, which I loved. And for the semi-finals this time, they did a rendition of Bastille's Pompeii, which is a brilliant song. And the arrangement was absolutely sublime. It was just fantastic. KSI mentioned that it was one of the best choir acts he's ever heard in his life. Alicia mentioned there's something that's so wholesome and what they're doing. She loves every single moment of that. And I think I kind of repeat what the judges said, because I think for a bunch of farmers to come together and sing is just fantastic. And I just thought the arrangement of this performance was fantastic. I love that song Pompeii, but they made it their own. The harmonies, the vocals, the blending together sounded beautiful together, and overall, it was just a fantastic performance. And honestly, I'm so glad that they are in the final, because they are just the act that you want to get behind. I think we should all support the farming community, no matter where in the world. Farming is very important. I think we should all support the farmers wherever we live in the world. We should give them our support, because they are they're very hardworking people, and I think they deserve all the amount of love and admiration that these guys do right here. And I'm so happy they made it through to the final, because they were very, very deserving of it. So there you have it. We officially have our finalists for BGT's Series 19 final, which is this Saturday. And we have Matty J, Anastasia and Salsa, Sebek and LMA, Fabian Fox, Li Wei Yang, Ted Hill, Sonny Green, Rafferty Coop, and the final two acts here, Celestial and Hawkstone Choir. Now, of course, we're going to have a wild card at some point. I got no idea who it's going to be, but I'm very much hoping it's Ren DMC, and I'll probably do a video on that very soon. But man, I mean, what a lineup we have here for this year's final. This is honestly, for me, I think this is one of the best finals I think I've ever seen for a BGT final in a long time. It is just stacked of talent. I honestly have no idea who is going to win this year. So it's going to be such an exciting final, and I cannot wait to see how it turns out. But who do you think is going to win Britain's Got Talent 2026 on Saturday. And now for me, I'm sticking with my gut, which I've been saying since day one, and I truly think it's going to be Rafferty. I think to have a young lad like him end up, to have a young man like him win the show this year and be at the Royal Variety would just be amazing. Again, I think I think in general he's had so much, like his confidence has grown so much, and every performance he's done has been incredible. And I just think to have this moment for him to end up winning after gaining his confidence so much, he's got my vote to win, absolutely. And I really do hope he does win because he is just a world-class act. But who do you think will win Britain's Got Talent Series 19? I'd love to hear your thoughts down below. But thank you so much for listening to this episode. If you enjoyed it, please remember to like this episode, and download and follow this podcast so you don't miss anything when a new episode is dropping. But for now, thank you so much for listening to my BGT Series 19 semi-final 5 recap. And of course, I'll see you guys next time.